The Ensemble podcast is intended for professional financial advisors. All discussion is limited to publicly available information and should not be interpreted as legal, professional, or financial advice. Ensemble does not hold an AFS license nor provide any financial services. Before making investment decisions, you should obtain financial advice from a qualified financial advisor.
Hello, my name's James Wrigley. I'm a financial advisor and one of the principals of Melbourne-based financial planning firm First Financial. I've been a long-term listener and contributor to the Ensemble group and podcast, picking up some amazing nuggets of gold over the years. And through this podcast and the people that I'm able to speak to and interview, hopefully I can continue to deliver some of those nuggets of gold to you.
Schroders is a global asset and wealth manager with broad expertise across public and private markets, investing on behalf of individuals, institutions and advisors. We support advisors to help their clients build successful portfolios to achieve their goals, whatever they may be. We are proud to be partnering with Ensemble to host a dedicated investment space on the Ensemble platform to have more meaningful conversations with their clients and to give advisors a more efficient way to engage with Schroders. Join the Schroders investment space on the Ensemble platform today.
Hello, welcome back to another episode. I'm James Wrigley, and today I've got the pleasure of talking to Celia Polkinghorne, Bonsai Digital Marketing. Celia, I said to you offline or whatever you want to say before we started recording, I see your face popping up on TikTok all the time. So I wanted to get you on and have a chat. But thanks for joining me.
Oh, I'm so pleased to be here. It's a total pleasure. Thanks for asking me.
So Bonsai Digital Marketing, it would have been a good soundbite to grab the history of your business and how you got into what you're doing. But maybe let's start about what is your business, who you tend to be working with, how that evolved.
Yeah, I think the most important thing to get across about Bonsai is my positioning in the market, right? So I think when you're just a regular business owner out there in the world, you don't specialize in marketing, you don't have a particularly strong understanding of marketing. Typically, when you think, outsourced marketing service, you think marketing agency, right? And the marketing agency does like graphic design and branding work and website work and maybe, running some Facebook ads or something like that, paid advertising. Or you might think of something like an online content agency or a LinkedIn lead generation agency, something like that. But no one really thinks of my type of business because it's not an obvious type of business to understand, right? But the important part about my business is I help people build their organic marketing foundations, right? So it's the organic marketing foundation that you have to have in place before you ever use like an agency service, essentially. So it's not that you don't use agencies, of course you can, but there's certain things that you've got to have in place in your business before agency work will really generate really good results for you. And that's what I help people build. So organic just means without using paid advertising. And just doing things, just as you do, James, on TikTok organically,
Yep.
You just get on and you talk and you be yourself and you build up your personal brand and just generate an understanding in the world of who you are first so that when we, pay for traffic, we pay to send traffic to your online presence, there's actually something for people there when they get there, because it's not the ad that makes money for you. It's what happens on the other end of the ad that makes money for you, right? And that's up to the business owner at the end of the day. So that's what I help people with.
Gotcha. Right. And so the history of it, so you work, you were saying, as we were saying before, press record, that you work with a lot of financial advisors and others in kind of service-based businesses. How did that come about? How did that evolve?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a story, but I was actually living in Japan for 10 years. So 2 years ago during COVID, I finally was able to get a flight back to Australia. But prior to that, I'd been living in Japan for 10 years. And I'd been working as a content creator, a copywriter, an editor, a freelance writer, a curriculum writer, just all sorts of copywriting jobs and essentially just using the written word to get an outcome, which is what marketing is, right? And leading up to coming back to Australia, I knew I was coming back to Australia, within the next 1, 2 or 3 years before I came back. And I was sort of wondering about the job search, right? And I, was going to be probably a bit of a jump or a bit of a gap, before I got a job. So I thought, I know I'll start a business to carry me over in case it's difficult or something for me for the first few months to get a job. So at least I'll have some income coming in, right? And I decided to start a marketing service, a done-for-you marketing service, which at the time was a LinkedIn lead generation service. And as part of starting that service, I wanted to just try the methods that I'd been creating on a service business, for free, right? Just to make sure that it works. But I realized I didn't actually really know very many at that time. I didn't know very many directors or owners of service-based businesses, and I wasn't quite sure who to ask, which sounds so funny now because I feel like everyone I talk to now is a service-based business owner. I don't think I talk to anyone who isn't, but at that time I really didn't know. So I asked my family's financial advisor. I said, hey, can I borrow your LinkedIn account, essentially? I'll try and make you some money. And luckily he's quite a forward-thinking person, and he's like, yeah, sure, didn't mind taking the risk, and, trusted me because he knew that I, was a strong writer, and he knew I'd look after his connections. So he did let me do it, and 4 days into the process, we actually were able to land him a 20K per year client recurring. So I was like, okay, this is actually working, it's working really, really well. And so, of course, after that, I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. I'm like, it's working for financial advisors. I think it would work for others, but I just want to, I want to stay focused on financial advisors and not reinvent the wheel since it's going well. And then just naturally what happened after that is my financial advisor clients would ask me, can you do this for our clients? Can you help our clients be more profitable? So that's when it sort of branched out into not just financial advisors, but also anyone in an advisory, consulting or coaching role.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So how long ago was that you were doing the LinkedIn lead?
So, the business was started 3.5 years ago. So it was October 2019. So I spent that first year of the business doing done-for-you services. And, the done-for-you services, they have only a degree of success, right? They have a degree of success, and the degree of success depends wildly on the business owner and the situation that the business is in. And so that's ultimately why I evolved the service into a done-with-you service, not a done-for-you service, because when you have a done-for-you service, you're sort of at the mercy of, advisors' sales systems, delivery systems, their own sort of like mindset around their own marketing. You're at the mercy of so many different elements, and therefore the success varies wildly, I was very, very lucky with the first person that I did it with. He happened to really have his acts together, right? So that's why we were able to generate quite a lot of profit, but not everybody has their ducks in such a row, right? As I discovered the hard way, as I continued to try to serve people in the same capacity. So that's when I developed it into a done with you service, where actually what I do is I bring in the business owner and show them exactly what they need to understand to get their marketing working. So it's just that sort of situation of, instead of trying to catch a fish for the man, you teach the man to fish, and, he can feed his village for a lifetime. It's that sort of mentality.
Yeah, gotcha. Can you explain what you mean by a done-for-you service? Like, what does that actually mean?
Yes, sorry. Yes, please do call me out every time I use a marketing jargon, because it's that unconscious bias, isn't it? That unconscious confidence. So done-for-you is, as a financial advisor, say, potentially at some point throughout your business, you might have thought, let's hire an agency to do something for us. Let's hire an agency to run our Facebook ads, or let's hire an agency to create content for us, or let's hire an agency to book meetings for us, right? That's an example of a done-for-you service. An outside service comes in and they take over an aspect of your marketing, and they just do it for you without all that much input from you. There might be some input, it depends on the service, but the idea is that you just get to outsource it, and you don't have to think about it, and leads coming to your business, right? It's the dream that everyone wants. But unfortunately, those types of services are limited. And it's like I said before, because you're wildly at the mercy of all the different other elements in people's businesses. So when someone has a done with you service, it doesn't mean that they don't do anything for you. We definitely still do. For example, like all the copywriting for a business, when we work with them, we don't expect them to do their own copywriting. So, all the copywriting for the LinkedIn profiles, the websites, that kind of thing is done. But what we actually do is teach them how to create content in a way that's going to serve them for the rest of the life of their business. And we also teach them, for example, how to hire an internal marketing coordinator to help them with the mental load of that, to help them with the copywriting can be difficult for people if you're not naturally a copywriter, which most people aren't.
Yeah.
It's really like, because good marketing is very copywriting heavy. But yeah, teaching them to hire an internal marketing coordinator that can take on that mental load, take on the mental load of the strategy, and who can keep everyone accountable for doing the right thing. Like, James, please post, once a day on TikTok sort of thing, and just help with ideas generation, and just, eventually, ultimately, they're going to be executing a cross-platform marketing strategy for the business. So it's just helping the business, instead of helping the business with a Band-Aid solution, which is generally what a done-for-you solution is, especially at the small and medium-sized business level. Things really change at the big business level. But the small and medium-sized business level, it's just a Band-Aid solution, whereas what we want is the solution that's going to serve you for the life of your business, right? It's the same as financial advisors. So instead of a Band-Aid solution of like, let's pick some stocks and see how they go, it's like, no, we want to look at your whole situation, or we want to create something for you where you can reverse engineer, however many dollars you want when you retire, and the time that you retire, and all that kind of thing. We want something that's really actually going to move the needle for you long term.
Yep. Gotcha. And so what is your experience with financial advisors when you talk about marketing? Is that a receptive conversation, or is it maybe you're dealing with people that are actually looking to do something in the marketing space anyway? But I would have thought that by and large, financial advisors would shy away from this idea of marketing. Would that? Yeah. What's your experience?
I've experienced everything from each end of the scale. I've experienced talking to people who, they're really gung-ho and really excited about it, and they know that there's potential. They've just got no idea how to go about navigating it, which is totally, of course, understandable. And then there's the other end of the scale where people have come to me and they've said, listen, I know I need to market my service, but I really don't want to show up on camera. I don't want to do personal branding. I, basically hate the idea of marketing, but I just know I have to do it, so I've had all of those conversations and everything in between.
And so if someone that's at that extreme that you just mentioned, that they don't want to show up on camera, they don't want to do the personal branding, like, where does someone like that even start?
Yeah, it's always a really very, very fascinating and also honest conversation that I end up having with those people, because this could turn into a long answer, and I'll try and keep it brief. But yeah, the thing about marketing, right, all it is at the end of the day is it is exactly the same as talking to your clients. It's exactly the same as what you do with your clients. You're just bringing it forward, and there just happens to be like a video camera recording you, or like it just happens to be you writing something on LinkedIn. And so instead of you writing your meeting notes for your client after they finished the meeting, annual review meeting or whatever, let's just say you're writing a version of the meeting notes on LinkedIn and sharing it publicly. Like it's just no different. It's no different from what you do every single day. But people, because there's that little tiny element of the camera, or the little tiny element of that's going out publicly, people turn it into this whole different thing. And this is what I try and say. I'm like, I get it, because even myself, like I'm like I don't like using the label introvert, because I don't think people really understand what it means, but I am an introvert. I'm not someone that like wants to be out there and like, la-di-da, like I get it. I didn't want to go on camera either when I started my marketing business, and for my first year in business, I didn't. Yeah. I thought I could get away with it, and like I could it depends like what results you're happy with in your business, but it's like ultimately you're being a hypocrite, Celia, and you're going to have to do it. I'm going to have to set an example, right? Otherwise I'm limiting my capacity to help other people as well. But let's just say a financial advisor is in that situation. Let's say they are really, really good with their clients behind closed doors. They're really, really good, but there's just this block or limiting belief around showing up on video or, posting publicly. In an organic marketing strategy, there's sort of three levers you can pull, right? There's outreach, there's content, and there's referrals. So there are plenty of successful businesses have been built in the world only on the referrals and networking element, with no content, with no outreach. But of course, you're shutting off two opportunities for yourself, and you're relying on only one. And you also have to work so hard on your referrals and networks if you've got no organic marketing presence to send people to, because a lot of those people that you network with will go to your website or your LinkedIn profile or your YouTube channel or whatever, looking for, is this person actually good at what they do, looking for evidence, right? And a lot of the time they're not going to proceed with you if they can't see anything. I'm certainly that person. If I can't see, if in my head I'm saying I can't see him, I can't see her, I can't see them,
Yep.
I don't know who they are, I don't know what they're about, I'm not going to proceed with them. So in my view, it's very, very important to also be doing the outreach and the content side of things. But, you know, what I say to people is at least if you can get things happening every day in writing, if you absolutely can't show up on video, at least you will make progress. It's just going to take such a lot more time. You know, if you're willing to show up on video, you'll be making progress in, you know, as little as like 4 weeks to 6 months kind of thing. But if you're relying on only writing, you can definitely do it. And there are definitely people who have done it. It's just going to take, you just have to expect that it's going to take longer, a year or 2 or 3, and you just have to keep persisting and just keep being okay and happy with that. And if you are, you can definitely do it.
Yeah. So if I'm starting out today and I've decided, okay, I've got my clients, as you said, you know, I get the odd referral that comes through. I know a couple of accountants or whatever that send me some work, and business has been okay. But I hear of these stories of people using social media and all the rest of it, and where should I start? What should I do first?
Yeah, so the very first thing is to just pick a platform. The obvious platform really, I think, is LinkedIn. If you're a service-based business, you know, obviously if you're a product-based business, e-commerce or whatever, the story is going to be different, you know, Instagram, whatever. But so if you're a service-based business, and that's who I work with, it's going to be LinkedIn because it's the no-brainer platform to do it on. And what you just want to do is just start finding ways to show up. Look, ideally every day on LinkedIn, but even if you're showing up for the very first time ever, you know, posting once a week is going to feel like a lot for you. So if you just start with that, like just post once a week and then post twice a week and then post 3 times a week and then get yourself up to posting every day. And what you've got to make sure you do, if you do that, is just make sure you post in an optimized way. So that, what does that mean, right? Yeah. Well, it means it's very, very simple. It's very, 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 very simple, but nobody does it. All it means, posting in an optimized way, is making sure the structure of any post, whether it's a written post or a video post, is just hook, story, call to action, or hook, story, call to think. You don't have to call someone to take action to DM every single time. But it's just hook, so it's like telling a story, right? As humans, we speak in stories every day. When we come home to our husband or wife at the end of the day and say what happened during the day, we tell a story. When we're talking to our kids about something, we tell a story. Even when we're talking to our dog, we'll tell a story. You know, everything's a story. Otherwise, if it wasn't, it wouldn't make sense, right? And everything has a beginning, a middle, and end. It's just that when we are talking out in the world, freestyling, we're not conscious of that. And so then, like, when we sit down to write something on LinkedIn, often we're like, oh, how should I write this? And like the big interruption, the big, like, unfortunate interruption in that process is like the way we've been trained to write academically at school and uni is like anti everything successful in marketing, right? Remember at uni doing all your kind of assignments and stuff, you would write these big, long, airy-fairy, you'd find the biggest, fluffiest words you possibly could to sound smart and sound academic and try and get a distinction, right? And like, that's how you think people think they, you know, like if I write like that, they'll view me as smart and they'll view me as credible and they'll want to work with me. But the opposite happens, right? That people look at it, they're like, woof, what does that mean? You know, because when we go on social media, right, we go on social media for distraction. We don't go on social media to get educated,
yes.
Right? We don't. So like when we see that, we're like, oh, no idea what that means. Or like, oh my God, that person sounds so like up themselves because they're so long-winded in using these big like fluffy words. So the big rule in copywriting, right, is write for a 12-year-old. That's the big number one rule. Write for a 12-year-old, write simply, 1-sentence paragraphs. 1-sentence paragraphs. It's everything you didn't learn in uni, right? 1-sentence paragraphs, lots of white space. Speak simply, speak to the point, you know, don't try and sound smart, like just try and help, right? Just try and help. So it's just a simple hook line to catch people's attention, provide the value you want to provide in a succinct way, and then end with a line, you know, asking people to engage with the post or to reach out if you want them to reach out or whatever you want them to do. after the post. Just remember to ask them to do something. If you just did that every single day on LinkedIn, you'd have a basic organic marketing strategy in place, and you could build from there.
It's interesting you mentioned about the long words and these posts. There's a particular person, not in financial advice circles, but I happen to be connected to on LinkedIn, and every now and then this person posts, and I read them to just try and understand what is this guy even saying, because there's
just out of curiosity,
a block of text. And he's talking about all of this stuff that I have no idea what he's actually saying, and there's all of these words in there to just try and sound like he's the smartest guy on the planet. But then there's these people underneath going, yeah, that's amazing, I agree with you. I'm like, but what did he even say? I got no idea. And
that's the thing.
You're saying that's counter to, and he's trying to sound like the smartest guy in the room, but that's completely counter to marketing activities.
That's right. And this is where marketing is just such a gaslighting chamber. You know, this is where marketing can get really gaslighting, because like you could see a guy like that. You could see him writing in this long-winded way, and you can see all these people, like 60 people have liked it and a whole bunch of people are commenting on the post, right? And you think, oh, that must be good marketing. That must be the way. But the problem is, this is where context comes into play, right? So those 60 people that might have liked on his post, they might be all his employees, or they might be like industry peers. You know, they're people that aren't going to buy from him.
Yeah.
You know, they're people that are sucking up to him for some reason, or you know, just genuinely appreciate him for some reason, but they're not buyers. Yeah. You know, so you look at it and you think, oh, good, that's getting lots of engagement. That must be the right thing. But it's like, no, but that's not the type of engagement that you want. And like I tell my clients all the time, my posts actually don't get all that much engagement because the style of post that I often post in is problem aware. I post in what I call a problem aware style. So I'm often making people aware of what their problems are, and people don't always like that, you know, and they don't want to like the post because it's like, oh, I don't want to like the post because then that's going to look like I have the problem. But then, you know, two days later, I'll have 2 DMs in my my LinkedIn, you know, account, and it's like, yeah, well, it's speaking to people. It's not what people enjoy reading sometimes, or it's not necessarily what they want to hear, but it is what they need to hear. And you know, because someone has actually come out and just said how it is, that it's caused them to reach out, because they know, well, that person really understands the problem because they've actually come out and said it, and they probably understand the solution too, right?
So let's tackle video, the big scary video. So I do a few videos, and people here that I talk to, and others, they're like, oh, my voice, my face, I'm not a good looking person, whatever. Where do you start with video? Where do people start with video? Yeah.
So there's a few things to sort of keep in mind, isn't there? I guess I was lucky in the sense that, like I'm a trained journalist. I worked for the ABC. That was my first job. I worked for the Country Hour for the ABC. And so I had all day, every day, I was listening to my own voice. And when I was initially doing that, obviously I had the same thing. I was like, oh my God, my voice does not sound like that. What is going on? What's wrong with these microphones? You know, but what you learn is like, actually the way you sound inside your head sounds different to the way you sound on the outside. And at first it's really jarring. You're like, what? Like, oh my gosh, I hate the way I sound, right? But then what happens is, as you just push through that discomfort, push through, what happens is it comes into I don't know what the word is, but it comes into like an equilibrium where the way you sound when you hear yourself on video or on audio then is the same as the way you hear yourself in your head. So that doesn't last forever, and you get over that. And the other thing is like, oh, I'm not good looking or whatever. It really doesn't matter. It really does not matter at all, because like, you know, at the end of the day, your clients love you, right? And your clients know what you look like, and they're not working with you because of what you look like, right? They're working with you because of what you know. They're working with you because of your systems. They're working with you because of how you can help, you know, and how you can help people get the outcome or transformation that they're looking for. So if someone did want to start on video, I definitely agree with the way you started. If that's the way you started on TikTok, I'm not sure if you were doing videos before that, but I definitely advocate starting on TikTok. And the big reason for that is, well, the first reason has been, this is sort of diminishing a little bit now, but it has been that previously the organic reach on TikTok has just been so good. You could post a really terrible video and they'll still send it out to 500 people, That's sort of diminishing a little bit now, but the effect is still there. So like it's a really great testing ground for like, okay, what's speaking to people here? Like what are people liking? What are people viewing? What do people seem to need help with? And it's just like got this really easy mechanism for people to comment, and you can use like, videos to reply to their comments and that kind of thing. So you can get really quick feedback from your, ideal audience on TikTok. So that was the first reason. The second reason is the TikTok video creator makes life so easy. Like it makes it so easy to create like punchy, watchable videos, just the way the record button works. Yeah, James, like obviously, like it's very easy to just sort of record one sentence at a time. And it's like, comes out as like quite a punchy video that's very, very watchable, which, if you tried to create that on your own, recording on your own and using a video editor, it'd take forever. You'd never do it. Yeah. But you can just record and get things out so quickly on TikTok, and it doesn't take your entire day. You can spend 1 hour shooting 7 videos every week and then just post one a day. Like save it in the drafts folder and just post one a day, and you're showing up every day on TikTok. It's pretty easy. It's pretty easy, really, using TikTok to at least be showing up once a day on one platform. So that's how I would get started.
What about the technology that I need for recording the video? Like, do you offer much assistance to your clients about, do you need the lights? Do you need the microphone? Do you need this? Do you in my experience, people worry about everything being perfect, getting in the way of actually just doing something.
You're so right. You're so right.
Can you share anything on that?
Yeah, 100%. Basically, you don't have to worry about all that stuff. The only thing that I actually have a video checklist that I can give it to you, to send to people if you want. It's very, very straightforward. Just like 6 or 7 things to make sure of every time you're shooting, but none of them require crazy extra technology. You just need to use your phone. And like the thing I use, I'm just looking for, I can't see it here, but it's just a really, really simple plug-in lapel mic, like $50 thing, and the other thing, so like once you've got the audio sorted, which is the most important, believe it or not, more important than vision, because it's very hard to listen to bad audio. Once you've got a little lapel mic to sort your audio, or if your phone does happen to have a really good microphone, then great. The only other thing to take into consideration really is to just make sure you're nicely lit, so you're not sitting in a dark room, or, you don't have shadows over your face, or, you don't have like, your dirty laundry behind you or whatever. Like just as long as you're outside is great, as long as it's not too sunny and casting shadows everywhere. Outside is fantastic, beautiful natural light, or otherwise just in your house, like standing in front of a window. You don't need any ring lights, you don't need any fancy cameras, you don't need fancy microphones, you don't need anything fancy. You honestly don't. As long as you've got that lapel mic and a window with natural light coming onto your face, that's it. That's all you need.
And you commented before about, we as financial advisors, we do our meetings and then we do our file notes afterwards, and we're kind of typing that up. You could go a step to creating a version of that as a written post for LinkedIn. You could create a version of that as a video too.
Exactly. So I really encourage people, once they get out of any meeting, like whether it's a strategy session, a discovery call, an annual review meeting, whatever it is, an emergency phone call because the client's rang in a panic, whatever it is, after you get off that call with someone, just use I don't know if you probably are familiar with the otter.ai app.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's a voice to text app. So like I really encourage all my clients, every time you get off a phone call with a client, or a prospect or whoever, it doesn't matter what you were talking about. Just get onto Otter, press the record button and just give a summary. Just say a summary. Okay, I was talking to Dave today. He had this concern about X, Y, and Z. What we did to solve that was X, Y, and Z, right? And that will immediately translate your voice to text, and you will have that there as a sort of like draft post essentially.
Yeah, right.
And like what you can do is just like take that text, put it in the LinkedIn, in the LinkedIn post creator, edit it so it's written for a 12-year-old and it's hook, story, call to action, right? Post it, and then you get your TikTok video creator up And you can literally read, if you've written it properly, you can read it sentence for sentence in the TikTok creator and press post, and then you've got a TikTok post. You never have to sit there with a blank page creating content ever. You just document what happens during your day.
What about it? So at the end of this, can you talk about maybe some success that clients are having with their organic marketing? Can you talk through anything like that?
100%. Yeah. So, I've been lucky to work with a lot of real go-getters. You can see them on my website, the ones that really do take the strategy and run with it. I try and do a video case study with them so that you can see, you can get a sense of like how things were before we started working together, what we did together, and how things are now that things, that they've sort of got the strategy in place and they've run with it. So, a really awesome kind of young New Zealand financial advisor I worked with, he was able to literally, we just put the organic strategy in place, finished, done like a dinner. And within that year, after that, he doubled his whole workforce and they had to look for a whole new bigger office, right? So he really, really understood it and really, he's a high quick start and he just took it and ran with it and just really, really excelled. There's another firm that I've been working with who's leading up to listing on the stock exchange, which is really exciting. They've been able to, what happens is a lead generation problem turns into a hiring problem. That's what happens, right? So all of a sudden it's like, oh, Celia, could you actually help us to write more attractive job ads so that we can start attracting the right people, right? And that's what we want to happen, because at the end of the day, when you're doing marketing properly, it's especially at the small and medium-sized business level. I have to stress I'm talking about small and medium-sized businesses here, not, Nike or whatever, not big businesses. At the small and medium-sized business level with an organic marketing strategy, if you do, just the few fundamentals properly, it is so easy to oversubscribe yourself. It's so easy to oversubscribe yourself with leads. And really what you're just trying to do is what you thought was a marketing problem is now actually sort of like a sales and delivery systems problem and a hiring problem. The marketing problem, if you do marketing, just those fundamentals right, the marketing problem doesn't last for very long. It then turns into sales systems and business systems, and that's, ultimately a lot of the time what I end up working with people on as well, because the success of the sales systems and the business systems does then feed back into the success of the marketing too. Yeah. So all works together organically in a holistic system. But yeah, typically, for example, a personal branding photographer I worked with recently, she really wanted to start doing retreats, but she's like, I don't know how to fill these retreats. I've been paying for ads, hasn't really been working kind of thing. And it's like, all right, well, let's put an organic system in place where you can actually reach out to people who are really going to benefit from this retreat, and you can fill all those spots organically. So it really, whatever target you want to reverse engineer, within reason, it's totally possible. But what you just have to make sure that you do is understand what activity and what volume of activity you need to do in order to achieve that reverse engineer target that you want.
Got it. Yeah. It's all exciting. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about. So thanks for joining me today, Celia. Where can people find you if anyone's interested? What's your website? Where can people find you?
Yeah, so you can definitely find me on LinkedIn. Just type in Celia Polkinghorne onto LinkedIn. Probably you won't be able to spell my last name, so go to the website, which is bonsaidigitalmarketing.com. And if you're on TikTok, my username is Celia Polkinghorne as well.
Thank you. Thanks for joining me. I've even picked up a few tips there too. So thanks for joining, and hopefully there's some value for anyone that's listening along.
Thanks so much for your questions. They were great.
Thanks. See you.
This material does not contain and should not be relied on for financial, accounting, legal, or tax advice. Schroders does not give any warranty as to the accuracy, reliability, or completeness of information presented. Visit www.schroders.com.au/advisors for more information about our funds.